Hey, good afternoon, risk practitioners and professionals. Welcome to IRMAPA channel. Today we have a very special guest. She's Joanne Flinn. She's the chairwoman of the ESG Institute. So welcome, Joanne.
Well, thank you
Welcome.
for having me here. It's just so good to be in Jakarta and with you all.
Okay, so Joanne, today we will have discussions about ESG, and hopefully from the discussions, the audience will get can take the key takeaways or benefits from our discussions. So first of all, Joanne, regarding that, the many people in Indonesia in general still struggle in understanding what is the ESG is all about. Yeah, could you give a descriptions with a down to earth descriptions, yeah, language? What is the ESG? So it can be understandable for everybody.
Okay, wonderful question because it helps. So I'll give you two definitions to help. One is the words as they stand, and then the deeper meaning of ESG and sustainability. So ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. And some of you might ask, well, why on earth do I, as a risk manager, care about environment, social, and governance? Where this comes from originally is actually the financial markets from the investor world, where they're looking at what creates the lead indicators of high performance. So organizations that pay attention to the physical environment and what's happening make better asset decisions. They manage the environmental risks better than those that don't, because if you're ignorant, you just get caught out. Social and being able to maintain your relationships with your communities and your people and engage your people all add business value on the social side. And then governance is the one we're probably most familiar with because that's strongly related. But what we find on the governance side, so the structure is also how we're making decisions within the organization. So, that's traditional ESG that's coming from the investor world. These days, ESG also gets used to talk about sustainability on the basis that if you're doing the right thing by the people and right things by planet, hopefully you're also doing right things by profit. So some of you would have heard about people, planet, and profit. That's what you and I as human beings say. Investors say ESG, but it's really the same core piece. And the reason why these two have come together on sustainability is that I've lived in Southeast Asia since, don't tell anybody else, okay, since 1978. Okay, my family moved to the Philippines when I was a child.
Okay.
So I grew up, I've literally lived in Southeast Asia nearly my entire life. So, being here in Indonesia is like coming home to the environment and the climate that I'm used to. But over the years, it's got warmer. Have you noticed that too?
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
It's hotter. And what the big picture science is saying is that as the world gets a bit hotter, what that's doing is changing the climate, the weather patterns around us. Some of you'll be living in places where you're getting more typhoons. Like the big storms are bigger. In the Philippines, we used to get one big storm signal a year, signal 5, and now they get 5 signal 5s in a month. It gets bigger and more intense. Now, as risk managers, that's bigger intensity, more frequently, and less time to recover. So risk profiles are changing. So, as risk managers, this is changing the world that we have around us. So, to make it super, super practical for each of us to go why ESG and sustainability become important, because all that is still a little bit out there. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a fever?
Yes.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
No.
No, me neither, by the way, and I have too. So when we have a fever, our body just gets a little bit hotter, right? We're completely fine, 35.6, right? And then you go like 1 degree warmer, we're not great. 2 degrees warmer, we're in high fever, it's dangerous for our body. Now what's happening as we warm the planet up, we're basically creating that equivalent for climate, and that's changing things, so it's getting a bit more uncomfortable or just a bit hotter. If it gets just a little bit more, it's like us going into a fever. And so when people are talking about what do we need to do differently, in essence, it's going, what do we need to do to go and reduce the fever?
Yeah.
And that's pretty practical. Because then we have to go like, well, what can we do that will change that fever to cool it down so that we have a cooler, more comfortable life, less storms, and reduce that risk. So that's ESG as sustainability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But perhaps many people may still ask, what can we do as an individual company with ESG to fight the global warming or something like that?
For example, for a company, in a company, I'll give you 3 things you can do really practically. One is realize that ESG is a source of value, which is why it came from the investor world. That this was a powerful source of value. But when we look at it as a problem over there, of course, we don't create value from it. When we go and look at it and go, well, what are these things? How could we make more of these to create greater value? We start creating compounding effects. Okay? So a really practical one is looking at these elements of ESG and going, well, where are we missing out on value creation that we could be?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful source of value. The second one is realizing that cost bases are changing. And where could we be making different decisions that allow us to make better uses of our resources, which is economically good, right? Economically good, but also its impact in terms of the resources we use. So in economics, we call it efficiency, but where can we be more efficient? In sustainability, it's called dematerialization. How can we do the same thing with less materials? Okay. So they're very similar concepts. And when you go and speak to your engineers, and many of you will have engineering types around, you go like, how can we dematerialize? That unclocks a different part of their brain, and they start going, and then everyone who's an economist or a CFO there is going like, that's called efficiency, we get better money out of it too, right? And the third one, so that's physical, and the third one is to realize that you could, from a business, you could be saying, okay, when we get clear about what we're doing around sustainability and ESG, because like I said, those words tend to be swapped around a bit, but they're very similar. You start saying, well, how will this help me attract and retain our people? Because if you've got 2 companies that are pretty much the same in what they do, and one of them is making a better impact in terms of what it's doing on planet and people will gravitate towards the company that's better on people. And that is, again, for those of you that are wanting to crunch numbers, that's economic value too.
Okay. All right. So, how to get the right start of ESG in our company? Yeah.
The 3 practical things that I'd suggest that you do to get started is, 1, and this is a blatant plug, is learn. Learn, because this is a short conversation. And like any field, I remember when I was doing a global risk project for one of the world's biggest banks a number of years ago. What we found was that most people didn't understand how the world was changing. In those days, we said how the environment is changing. What we meant was the world. Now it's going like, well, how is all this changing, and therefore, what does it mean? Because if we're ignorant, we don't know. So the first one is actually opening up to learning some more and taking it on. The second one is realizing this piece is that at one level, when we think of ourselves as an individual, as a risk professional, or as a business person, it can all seem so big and out there. It's realizing that each one of us add up together. And the world we have today, like 25 years ago, none of us had laptops. We didn't have mobile phones. Smartwatches were a long way away. And 25 years at one level is a long time, but 25 years is 2050. And over 25 years, we can do quite a lot. Like the stuff that we haven't yet solved now can be solved. And we as human beings are very, very creative. So, I say that because while your question is like on the start, sometimes people don't want to start because they go, oh my God, it's too big. And I'm going, yes, it's big. But we've done big stuff before. So, but by starting, we can keep doing a bit more. We can compound, and we get the power of the compounding and the collective. So get educated, take a step, do a little bit more because it will add up. And then the third one is work with other people and other organizations that are also on the journey with you. Because there's a lot of space to go, oh my God, that's a great idea. I like that one. I want to take that and move it forward. And we learn from each other.
Okay. So that's the three things that to get the right start. How about the three common mistakes in starting the ESG that the company should anticipate?
Okay, so three common mistakes, and then also I know the next question is, and what to do to avoid them. Right? Okay, so common mistake number one is going, it's somebody else's problem, I don't need to do it. Okay. The reality is everybody is busy. There's always urgencies around there, but this is classical quadrant 2. The things that are important but not urgent. And what wisdom says is the sooner you act on the important but not urgent, they don't ever become urgent. So very strong risk mitigation on that one. Risk people, right? Talking our language here. So mistake number one is just going like, I can delay it for later. If you delay it for later, it's going to be bigger because the compounding effect of inaction is going to be bigger. So that's a big mistake. 2, there's going to be more to clean up. So getting started sooner is actually a very powerful one. The second mistake people act is they go, oh, it's expensive now. Okay, budget is often one of the things. The piece is that, can I be geeky? Can I be, just check? Sometimes you don't like it. In finance, there's a principle called the rule of 72, which pretty much means that if you improve something by 1%, so you get 1% compounding, to get 100% better, the compounding effect only takes you 72 periods. And it's an easy one to use for investments. Go, how long does it take us to get payback? Okay, so if you've got a 5% compound and you take 72 divided by 5, and it gives you how long it will take to get your payback on simple compounding, is the economic returns on ESG and sustainability-driven action are faster than the rule of 72. So mistake number 2 is thinking that the traditional investment parameters apply, or the traditional cost parameters apply. They don't. It's faster returns and higher impact.
Oh, okay.
And so, from risk professionals, that's the kind of stuff we want to be on top of to understand, because that means our assessments would be wrong if we're using the traditional linear type 1. And then the third one is people thinking it's complicated. Okay. And this mistake is because it's a mistake, because when you think it's complicated, we go into overwhelm and we put it off and we say we need to research it more. This is actually a space where there's a lot of information that's available, that this is no more complicated than doing a big, if anybody here has been involved in putting in new technology in your organization or seeing that, when you haven't done it before, it seems complicated. But once you've done it once, you know how to do it, and it's not too bad. So mistake number 2 is, number 3 is looking at it like it's complicated. No, actually, it's something that's not familiar.
Okay.
And once you get past the unfamiliarity, and then it's very, very, very practical steps that you can take.
Yeah, you can learn.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the third mistake, is people going, it's too complicated. No, just go like it's unfamiliar. Once I get familiar, I'll know the steps I can take, and it will be easy.
Okay.
Or easier is probably fairer.
Okay, so what's your key takeaways to the risk professionals in Indonesia
okay.
About the ESG?
About ESG. My key takeaway for you as a risk professional, firstly, thank you for listening and still being here at the end of a podcast, is that this is really exciting times in the most positive sense for risk professionals to be key influencers in the future that we have. Not from the point of view of not just making sure risk is managed, but using risk as a way of creating value for your own organization, but also for your family and community and for Indonesia around us. And we don't get that many opportunities in a career. And this is definitely one of those opportunities right here, right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Joanne, perhaps for the closing, could you tell us a bit more about the ESG Institute you're presenting?
Okay, well, thank you. So the ESG Institute was founded to help business leaders accelerate what we do to create a cooler, more sustainable future. So if you follow the science, they call it the under 1.5 degree world. So that's the science speak. As human beings, it's how do we help people, planet, and profit work together to do better. So we work with business leaders around training and education and certifying individuals around understand the knowledge and capacity, and we certify organizations on where they are on their ESG journey. So so we look at do you have a good plan for, like, if you're aiming for net zero, what would a net zero your business look like at net zero? What would it look like at true zero? And if you're going regenerative, what will it look like? So that, again, to this thing about it's not complex when you know. So that you can take action faster. Because here the piece that we know at the Institute is that when the right-minded leaders get together, change happens really fast. And so we exist to help equip those leaders to make their changes faster, to be more successful as organizations, to create greater impact as businesses, and to deliver some good profit bottom line, as business leaders.
Okay, so how can we reach you?
Wonderful. So 2 practical ways of reaching me. Firstly, LinkedIn is beautiful, Joanne Flinn, which I know you'll have nicely spelled out underneath, and at the ESG Institute. So, and it's in LinkedIn, it's the ESG Institute, and we've got a glorious, glorious logo, which I'll make sure you have so you can put it up and recognize the right logo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights, Joanne.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to see you again, Charles.
Yeah, see. So, risk practitioners, that's our discussion with Joanne, the chairwoman of the ESG Institute. Hope you enjoy the discussions, the insights, and see you again.